friends, and welcome to another episode of the Yoga Crew podcast. I'm your host today, Maria, and of course, we have with us the rest of the crew here. Hi, Ale.
Hi.
And hi, Serene.
Hi, everyone.
And for today's episodes, we have a very special guest, Niki Lundberg, all the way from beautiful Thailand. Hi, Niki.
Hello, lovely to be here.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. As we mentioned already, really for the fourth of your time, we're very excited to have you here and have a very open and honest conversation. Niki is a yoga teacher, a wife, and recently a mom. So I think I'm very excited also to hear that. But in today's episode, what we're gonna do is we're gonna chat and we're going to talk through a very heartfelt conversation and a little bit more in depth than usual. And I hope that brings a little bit of happiness, a little bit of light to our listeners. And the topic that we're going to discuss today is how to live life leading with the heart. And this actually brings me to a very interesting point, and that's actually how I met Nikki. I went to a beautiful place called Koh Samui in Vikasa, where Nikki normally teaches, and I don't know, I felt the need to go there. I just saw beautiful pictures, and my heart was telling me to go and to do there. And actually, when I came from that trip, I changed my life completely. And just again, kind of talking through how to live with the heart. Nikki and her husband Michael actually have opened a community, and I'm going to talk you through that in a second. But just for starters, Nikki, I would love to hear how you started into yoga. How was your journey? What was it like for you?
Yeah, so I live in Thailand now, but back in the days I used to live in Sweden. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. So I found yoga when I was living in cold Sweden, and I was I think I've always been like searching for something. I don't think I've ever really known what it's been, but I've always wanting something from life. So trying different hats, different identities, different things to kind of find myself or find my way. And I was studying HR and psychology at university. I was working as a project manager in a company management business, and I stumbled across a yoga class with a pretty amazing teacher. And throughout that class, I started to feel something within my body that I've felt before. So I started to have this like almost kind of tingling vibrational feeling. And after Shavasana, or even beforehand, I think she did some kind of meditation, a pretty strong Kundalini meditation. And I was like, what's going on? What is this? Where am I? What am I doing? I love this. So I spoke to the teacher afterwards. I think she really saw me in class. And now as a teacher myself, I can also see, when someone has that kind of aha moment for the first time. And I asked her, what's going on in my body? Like, I'm feeling electricity. I'm feeling so alive. And she just said, it's prana. This is like a yogic phenomenon. It's your life force. So that made me kind of interested in this practice, and it took me on a journey, not just through the physical asanas, but also through yoga philosophy. And it was like I found all the answers that I've been looking for in a way, or like some kind of guidance on how to live life. So a guidance in, just taking you deeper into who you truly are, and talking about things like how you talk, how you act, what you think. So it was a deep journey that was far greater than just the physical one, but it definitely started with a physical sensation. So that's how I found it, and pretty pretty quickly I knew I just wanted more. So yoga brought me into myself and gave me the courage to go beyond my own fear. And I decided to finish university. I graduated and everything. I quit my job. I packed my bag and I moved to Thailand to also connect with my dad, who's from here. Did my yoga teacher training, and yeah, I haven't looked back once.
You haven't left since, right? Don't blame me. I'm very jealous, as I mentioned as well. I think, you live in a beautiful place. And Niki, how these past months have been? Of course, we all know that COVID happened, COVID hit, and we all kind of have different experiences as well in regards to us as a yoga teacher, but obviously us as human beings. But I think the purpose of today's episode is just a reminder that we are so lucky. We have so many things to be grateful for. But yeah, we'd love to hear, what was your experience through this time?
Yeah, it's such an interesting time we're in, and I know that there are so many people in the world for different reasons suffering through this time. I definitely have been affected by the pandemic. I was very much pregnant when it happened, and just back in Samui after 6 weeks in Melbourne, and then kind of escaped from the island because we really wanted to give birth in Melbourne. So Michael and I, we were kind of stuck in Melbourne in Australia, and did like isolation and quarantine there. And was, affected by the lockdowns and everything. And it's an interesting time. I like to talk about it in those kind of words, because I really feel that this pandemic has forced us all to just go inside. Of course, all of us haven't chosen to do that, but it's really been a time where we can't do much. We're being faced the fact that nothing is in control. We live our lives, usually most of us, and we think we are in some kind of control, but the truth is we aren't. We are not in control at all. And we can choose either to get completely, swept away by that, or we can choose to just ride the waves of present. And of course, it's super hard, and I understand people lose their jobs. I have too, in a way, because it closes moments. I don't really make any money, but that's okay. People are, locked down. They cannot see their families, their friends. They spend a lot of time alone, etc., etc. But I have just chosen to look at this time with, wide open eyes. And I think many of us before have asked for time to pause, time to reflect, time to be with our kids, time to, not do too much, time to just be. And that's the way I'm looking at it as well. That this is our opportunity to just okay, it is what it is. That's just a fact. A pandemic is going through the world. We are very much restricted. We don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow or in 2 months or in a year, really. So I'm just trying to enjoy this moment, and instead of looking at all the hard things and all the negative things, trying to look at the beauty. Nature is growing as never before. The ocean where I am is clearer than it's ever been. We have, we have community all over the world that we can find in this kind of way. We create new ways of working, new ways of connecting, new ways of coming together. So yeah, I also believe that, nothing lasts forever. Everything is constantly changing, and so will this. And before we know it, we will be in our busy hamster wheel again, and just running, doing, fixing, not have time for our families, not have time for our friends. So better enjoy it while it's here.
And you made a very great point. Thank you for sharing this, because I think it's I think what we all are thinking, and specifically people who has that kind of yoga mindset as well. But you made a very good point about community, and I know this is something that in yoga we kind of talk a lot, but I think for us and for our listeners, this is probably one of the biggest highlights of 2020, and the things that everyone is doing, different communities that we are creating, obviously online, and something that we spoke about in other episodes, which also brings me to a community that you and Michael created, and I was part of that as well. It's called Head to Heart. So what was really the reason behind it? Why did you find the necessity of changing, I guess, obviously, as we said, like the life that we are having now, where we used to have an in-person community, but what was that thing that made you say, I need to do this? I feel the need to connect to my community again.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been I know there are yogis that have been working online for ages and that's their thing, etc., etc. And I've been the one who's been like, people ask me about online classes and want to record things, and I'm like, nah, that's not my thing. I just like in person. So it's funny that I ended up actually creating something online, and I never thought that would happen really. But being back in Australia, where Michael and I, we went back to Australia and basically waited for Elsa to be ready inside the belly and waiting for the birth. We were isolated, just the two of us, in a beautiful little place in Marimbula, in New South Wales, in Australia. And I had been pretty fine, not teaching a lot. I was pregnant. I was feeling kind of sick, tired, all these different things. But then after a while of being in that kind of isolation mode, and also not being at the casa where we're so used to always have people from all over the world coming together, I started to really feel this longing to one, come together as a community, and two, share these kind of practices that really, really have, changed my life. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to create something where we could do that, where we could come together as a yoga community, basically, and not just practice physically, but dive a little bit deeper, because I felt that need from myself, but I could also see that this is something that is needed in the world. I think, rather than just being alone with everything that is going on, let's come together and let's see what we can do to tap into that, to find connection, to find peace, etc.
And even the name, I think it was Head to Heart, right? Like it really, I think, taps into what yoga is about, but also the main topic of what we are trying to gather from today's episodes. And I think that yoga is a practice that really helps you lead with the heart in all those aspects of your life. It helps you see things through a lens of possibility and positivity as well. And I think it really lets you understand all the great things that you have in your life. So I wanted to ask the yoga crew, the guys here, Serene, I wanted to ask you, talking about living through life with positivity and living through life with your heart, how yoga has helped you to do so, to achieve this, if you have achieved it?
Yeah, so I'm a very positive person already, very outgoing. I love the connection with people. So I won't say that yoga has brought that in me. It's my nature. Very optimistic, people, when they see the way I live, they always say I'm in my bubble, everything is pretty, beautiful. And I think it's a bubble I created to protect myself. and from the outside, and fears and so many things. And what I found in yoga is, like Niki, you were mentioning, it was a time to come back to myself, to my inner self, and to face those fears, right? So before, I had this big bubble around and everything was magical, but everything was perfect. And yoga has definitely helped me to face that and to definitely become a better person, and probably open my mind a bit more, and not only probably I don't know, I will probably spend more time with people like me, right? So that's probably that. And and leading with the heart, to come back with that, is a very interesting point for me, because even though it sounds very easy, right, to love with your heart, I realized recently, and it's been the last year, one of my realization, 1 year of break and coming back to, with the teacher training and all those work I had to do on myself, because definitely, like you said, Niki, this was not a time where I would look for something outside. This is a time I said, look, Serene, you need to go inside and face everything. And I realized something, that I would be loving more with the head than with the heart. And I was reading a book recently, and I was like, oh, actually, this is how I've been educated, right? So now in everything I'm doing, whatever it's with my teaching, or the relation I have with my relatives and others, I would definitely try to have it more leading with the heart, because for some people it's not that easy. It can be nice and positive and optimistic. Sorry, Croquette is crazy. And yeah, so yeah, I feel like yoga has been waking up this thing in me. And I found the true meaning of it, and I learned to trust my instinct more, and be more in the moment.
Thank you for
I
sharing.
could go on forever, when I start talking, so I rather stop now.
Thank you, Serene. And how about you, Ale? What do you find is the way for you to lead with the heart, or what kind of how do you achieve this?
So my way to approach life has significantly changed because of yoga, girls. And I started seeing things with different eyes, and also to give priority to different things in life. And I'm trying to live here and now, Serene said, of being more present. And this helps me a lot to stay positive, especially during this tough time. Yoga taught me also not to judge, or at least to be aware of the inner processes of judging. And I also have a relationship with myself, which is deeper and really meaningful. And I think I kind of always lived leading with my heart, kind of. But the beautiful thing that now I'm aware of it in a different way. And I think this is even more beautiful.
Yeah, so thank you, Ale, for sharing this as well. And I think we kept saying that 2020 was a very challenging year, and I think still kind of drags a little bit, but we have so much to be grateful for. I think everyone had actually used the time very wisely, and really, as Serene, you were saying, like really kind of taking the time to look inside and kind of remove all the kind of negativity and really connect who you really deeply are, and all the wonderful things that you have in your life. And I guess for you, Niki, a very important change for your 2020 was motherhood, and creating Elsa. And I wanted to kind of ask you a little bit, like, how being a mother and a wife has changed your life, but also your practice and your connection with yourself and to yoga.
Yeah, it's definitely been 2020, I think for most people it will be the year of the pandemic. But for me, 2020 will always be the year of Elsa, because she happened then. And it's so interesting to talk about, because in one way it has changed everything, having her, and in another way it just hasn't. But everything is different, like our life is different. We have another human being to care for, and I think it's insane when your heart feels so full as it did even before Elsa. I have so much love for the world, for life, for Michael, and then thinking that that's almost, it's as full as it can get, and then she enters a little tiny human being, and that love just grows and grows and grows. So thanks to her, and thanks to Michael, and thanks to our little family, I get a daily reminder of love, a daily reminder of joy, and especially a daily reminder of just being present, because babies change so much. And I think it's not just babies, I think it's human beings in general, but in a baby you can see it so clearly because they grow and they develop. So it's forcing you to just be with what is, and to be fully present there and then. And I also found that really it becomes hard to have a baby. It's not just easy, it becomes hard, especially of course when they're sick and they're not feeling well, etc., but especially when you resist that moment. So when I'm thinking about being somewhere else, or thinking about doing something else, and it doesn't really turn out that way, that's when I suffer, that's when I find it hard. But when I'm just there with her, embracing her in everything she is, it's just beautiful. And that's such a beautiful, description of life too. Like if we stop resisting and we just allow ourselves to go with the flow, that present moment, it's pretty magical, whatever that is. Because I think it's important, you said something before of negativity and positivity, that idea of feel whatever is there. Like I think yoga can really help us to just be present with what is, and so can a baby. So that has been huge, and also my practice has changed in the way that I appreciate it more than I ever had, which is funny, right? Like before I had the time to be very much in my practice all the time, in different ways, but to physically practice yoga a lot. And now I actually still get the chance to do that every day, which is beautiful. But I appreciate it in a new way. I've always loved the practice, and I've been, standing behind it in every single way. But now I really enjoy arriving in my body, and it's the way. If I just get to practice 1.5 hours in a day, the rest of the 22.5 hours, I can be the best mother of all. At least in my own opinion. So I getting that little time for myself really brings me so much. So it's a new level of appreciation. And something else that has come with it that I didn't really expect, and I don't know if this is just motherhood or if it's also a year of pandemic, but I just feel a new sensation of like calm and being grounded. It's like nothing can really, like everything touches me deeply. I'm more emotional than I've ever been, but I also feel extremely steady with my 2 feet on the earth.
I think it was a very emotional year for everyone, and what I mean by emotional is I think everyone really managed to connect with their emotions. And in regards to what we were discussing, Nikki, and how motherhood in this case has changed your practice, has it changed also the way that you come to the practice, the way that you experience your emotions, and the way that you connect deeply with yourself? Is a sense of a change of that emotional level as well, if that makes sense?
Yeah, the practice has always been very emotional for me. So I very soon in my practice like tapped into all the other layers of yoga. So even when I talk about yoga, it's not so much just a physical practice, but more a state, and a state of true nature, a state of essence. So using these different practices to bring us into that state, and that has been true for me from day one. Even though it was pretty physical in the beginning, and that's what I knew, and my body was stiff, so I reacted to that, etc., etc. But it's always been, to me, yoga is something that we are, and that is also very, very emotional, and touching upon all those different layers of our being, and I definitely do that now, but I don't know if it's more than it's been before. I think in a way it is. The more present you become, maybe, and maybe I do feel a little bit more present. So yeah, kind of.
I think something that we already discussed as well in other episodes, but I think just kind of really realizing how our individual practice has changed this past year. But I would like to ask Ale, like, have you noticed any change in your practice lately from the kind of emotional point of view? Is there any, for example, for me lately, I've been tapping into a more calm type of yoga. I think, because we are still in lockdown there, I have noticed myself a little bit of lack of energy, and perhaps I really need a little bit more of a pare down, whether, for example, in summer, I was really hitting my practice with a lot of energy. So I was wondering, Ale, have you noticed any kind of emotional change in your practice lately?
Yes, for sure, Maria. Especially because of this bad period of COVID, etc. So I remember, as you, that this summer I was practicing with a lot of energy. But actually, and maybe because here in Italy we're still in red zone again, it's like I'm feeling a little bit low, to be honest. But I try to practice as well. Maybe I try to do different practices, but I still found in yoga what I needed to kind of overcome this difficult moments. So yes, I think this has changed, but to help me in this difficult process.
Because I guess it's also a great part of the practice that we come to the mat as we are, and I guess we take the practice as we're feeling in the moment, and we are probably used to also adapt, right? Like the way that we are practicing. Perhaps one day we need a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, and I think that's also one of the beauties of yoga, in the sense that it's a very adaptable practice, and not only from the emotional side, but also through the physical side. And I guess you take so much from that practice, and really kind of help you understand what you can take from the mat and actually use it outside the mat. Sorry, I just went into a tangent there, but I just thought it would be a very kind of nice thing to talk about. But Niki, I wanted to also ask you about your new project. I know we spoke already before about, kind of moving things online, and how perhaps now is a good time to do so. So as I read, so you and your husband Michael have created Pandana Yoga. So tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, it's funny, right? How everything has developed into things they've developed into. But we've been working on our new little baby, which isn't a human baby, and it's called Pandana Yoga. We're about to launch pretty soon. It's taken a little bit longer than we thought from the beginning, because that's what those kind of things do, I guess. But it's an online platform and community where we will share on a monthly and weekly basis different practices that have changed our lives. And the way it differs from other online platforms is that we want to bring all the elements of yoga in. So as I said before, we believe that yoga is a state. It's our connection with essence, our true nature. So what we're doing is trying to facilitate people to find their way into that part of themselves every single month, and we'll do so by a talk at the beginning of the month where we set a theme. We talk about our life really with different highlights that we connect to some kind of yoga philosophy, and then we share different practices, so physical practices, more calm practices, breathing, meditation, and also some tutorials on just questions, but also physical asanas. And we end each month with a reflection, so some journaling prompts to write about. And the idea is to really not just practice physical yoga, but to create some kind of yoga retreat at home. So the idea of really finding ways to dive a little bit deeper into yourself, because it's so much more than just moving on your mat, as we all know after doing some trainings, etc. So we're very, very, very excited, and it really is our way, living on a little island, to come together with people, from all over the world, because that's really our passion, and share what we believe can awaken our souls and bring us to who we are truly deeply inside. So it's super duper exciting. It looks really good so far, and I'm just intrigued to see what we can do with it. It's so nice.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing this, and obviously for all our listeners, keep an eye. We will link Niki's Instagram as well, so you can follow her journey and you can hear all about her new project with Michael as well. And yeah, I'm very excited to see that, so I'll tune in as well. And I just wanted to kind of wrap up, and I know we talk about how yoga helps us to live with the heart. I mean, I think this topic is so beautiful and so special that it's quite hard to just keep it into one episode of a podcast, and there's different probably areas where we could explore a little bit more, but I just want to give a reminder to our listeners again that we know we had a hard year. I think people use it differently, as we already said, and there's so many great things that happen to all of us individually as well. And I would like to kind of give our listeners a reminder that there's still there's so much that we should be grateful for, and I think even and especially right at this time. So I would like to ask you guys just to kind of give that little bit of a special thing to our listeners, so hopefully they can they can reflect perhaps on this topic as well, and do a little bit of journaling, if you will, about what's been happening, and like how we can keep living with the heart. So Serene, I would love to ask you, what are 2 things that you are grateful for, and perhaps why, if you wanted to explain a little bit more?
Yes, I am very grateful for the break we had experience from this COVID. My life was pretty hectic, as most of us, especially living in London with a busy life. And it was perfect time. I don't think I will have done half of what I've done to realized of actioned really getting out of my comfort zone, and get my teacher training, start teaching, and find myself a bit more. The other thing I've learned and I'm grateful for is let go of control and expectation. That was a big thing for me, and I know as women in general, we like to control things. I mean, as like human being anyway. I am more easygoing with that. I'm going more with the flow, and that way I live more in the present, and I don't really suffer because I don't have so much expectation. So I feel in sync with myself, and I feel definitely much better despite all the trouble we've been experiencing. Right now in London, we're still in lockdown, but yeah, there is this beauty. I mean, yeah, it's been now exactly a year since we stopped. Our life has stopped, and yeah, it's been still beautiful. So yeah, I'm grateful for that, despite all the chaos and all the horrible things that happen. Yeah, I am very grateful for that.
Thank you. I love that. And I share that as well with you. I thought that was a great summary and takeaway. Ale, how about you? What are those things that you learned and you are grateful for?
So there will be a lot, of course. I don't want to sound obvious or kind of cliche, but the first thing is yoga. And I'm grateful to have practice now, in this difficult moment, as I said, and it's kind of my happy place. So definitely, this is probably the first thing. And together with yoga, all the things related to it. So this podcast, you girls, and I don't know. It's really something I'm grateful for. And the second one, which is a lot of together, is that I'm grateful for my five senses. So I feel the sun on my skin, warming everything up. The spring is coming here, and a lot of flowers are blooming, or like small days, or I don't know, the taste of the homemade pizza sitting, or a cool glass of water. I don't know, after a long walk, or the smell of Sunday morning, and the bed sheets, the new bed sheets, and especially also the awareness of my body move space. And I think we can do extraordinary things, and we just forget how amazing this. So I'm grateful that I have this sensitivity to kind of appreciate the world. And I think this is the essence of the life itself. I don't know. I think this is probably the thing that I'm most full of.
Thank you, Ale.
Yeah.
And Nikki, how about you?
I love how everyone's like, there's so many things to be grateful for, because there obviously are many great things out there. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, I have to say families. Like I just have to say it, because that's always, every time I'm on my mat and I'm giving things at the end of the practice, and my family always comes up, and I have to say them now. They bring so much meaning into my life, and so much love and joy. So I'm very, very grateful for them, for Elsa and for Michael, my little family. And then I think I have to say nature. So being here on this island where there is not much of anything else, but there is so much nature. So we have almost like a deserted island. And when I was back in Melbourne too, it was lockdown. So the city was deserted in a way, because no one could go out. And that was like a ghost town. It was scary, right? Being on this third island is beautiful, because nature is taking over. And yeah, I just close my eyes, talking about the senses, and I just feel the sun on my skin. I hear the waves of the ocean. I feel my feet grounded in the sand. And I think this is pretty remarkable, and the way that nature always brings us into presence and into ourselves. So I'm grateful that that I'm here, and that I get to live in a place where nature gets to really bloom.
I love that you mentioned nature, because for me was one of the things that really helped me during this period. And because nature is always changing, nature is still there, and wherever happens, you see, as Ale was saying, the spring is coming. And I remember like one of the greatest things is that she's going for a walk in the park or going to the woods. It really helped me to connect, to clear my mind, to de-stress. So I think, yeah, I'm very grateful as well for nature. The other thing I wanted to also mention is that I'm very grateful for the resilience that I have. And for me, it was kind of working towards my goal, which is become a yoga teacher. So I'm very grateful that I committed, I did it. I don't know. For me, it's something that is very special. And as we mentioned at the beginning, so we are kind of new yoga teachers. So I think for us, 2020 is going to be always, very special, because was the year where we became something that we always wanted to, was the year where we worked towards something that we always wanted to, and of course was the year that we met. So yeah, I think that's something that I am very grateful, and I think I will always be. And yeah, I think this is actually the perfect way of ending today's episode. I don't know if anyone want to have any other questions, but yeah, any other questions, guys?
It's just so funny. I just wanted to tell you my thoughts, because when hearing all of us, it's just so funny, the different stage of our life that we are so different anyway, but in a way we connect well. It's just so beautiful listening to Niki, like with your new family. It's just beautiful. And us, I feel like we're still like figuring out our life, and even though it's still beautiful because we are most of us in lockdown, but we are finding ways to connect with nature, with spirituality, in a way that's just beautiful. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, because I was like, wow, we're just at different but we still connect to the same things, right? Wherever we are, whatever stage of our life, whether we have a family, whether we are still figuring out our life, right? We still have a full-time job and we do yoga. So yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. So yeah, I think guys, I think this is gonna be the way of ending the episode. And thank you so much, Niki, for joining us today.
Thank you.
I think we would love to carry on chatting with you for many, many hours, but I know you have things to do and a family to go back to, as we do as well. But yeah, it was so great having a open heart conversation. And yeah, I think our listeners, they really like when we have people with us that they share their passion. And I think it was very clear from your words and from what you said, Niki, that that's your passion, and that's who you are. And I think it was a great example for our listeners as well, like,
and for us.
Yeah, and for us.
You're such an inspiration, Niki. It's beautiful.
Aww,
such a great time.
Thank you so much. It's so beautiful. Just what you were saying, Sarah, and I love the idea that once you found yoga, and again, yoga is so much, so it's not just physical practice, but once you found yoga, wherever you go in the world, you can find your community. Because even though we come from different backgrounds, we're different ages, we have different interests, we can always come together in that, in almost like the search of our soul. And I think it's such a good point. And it's just when you find that, you're never alone. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you do. You just always have your little tribe, and that's something very special. Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
thank you. And I think yoga, is that word that people keep saying, or we keep saying, is union, and it really is, and it really is a community. And yeah, we are so lucky to have, every month we sit down with amazing people, yoga teachers, so people who really make a difference. And that's why I wanted to have you here, Niki, with us. So so if you guys want to keep in touch with us, follow us on Instagram, the Yoga Crew Podcast. Also go ahead and follow Niki. I think Instagram is Niki Maria Helena. Is that correct? Yes?
That's correct.
Niki Maria Helena and her Instagram for her beautiful stories about yoga, love, family, all the way from Thailand. Thank you so much for listening all, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.